The chamber is open and full of whispers.
What if the most dangerous wizard in history had made a different choice on the night he fell? What if Lord Voldemort, standing over the crib of Harry Potter, with murder in his heart, had heard something, felt something, that changed everything? This is not a story about a better childhood. This is a story about the worst possible outcome. A boy raised to be a weapon, trained in darkness from infancy, taught that love is weakness and power is everything. A boy who could have been the savior of the wizarding world, transformed into its ultimate destroyer. This is the story of how Voldemort claimed his prophesied enemy as his heir, and how the world nearly ended because of it. October 31st, 1981. Godric's Hollow. The Dark Lord stood in the nursery of the Potter cottage, his red eyes fixed on the infant in the crib. James Potter lay dead downstairs. Lily Potter lay dead at Voldemort's feet, her final scream still echoing in the small room. And the boy, Harry Potter, 15 months old, marked by prophecy, stared up at him with eyes the exact green of his mother's. Voldemort raised his wand. The yew-wood felt warm in his hand. 13.5 inches. Phoenix feather core. The wand that had killed more people than he could count. Avada Kedavra. The green light hit the child. But instead of death, there was pain. Agony beyond anything Voldemort had ever experienced. His body was coming apart, atom by atom, his magic tearing itself to pieces. The killing curse had rebounded. Impossible. The boy should be dead. The prophecy should be ended. But instead, and then Voldemort felt it, a piece of his soul, already fractured into 6 deliberate fragments, 6 Horcruxes hidden across Britain, tearing loose from the shredded remnant in his disintegrating body. He felt it latch onto the only living thing in the room, the boy himself. The child who was supposed to die had become a Horcrux. Voldemort's consciousness, no longer tethered to flesh, became something less than spirit and less than the meanest ghost. But in that terrible moment of transformation, he understood with absolute clarity. The boy contained a piece of his soul now. Killing Harry Potter would mean destroying a fragment of his own immortality. And Lord Voldemort had not murdered his way to 7 Horcruxes, only to lose one through carelessness. The wraith that had been Voldemort fled the cottage, formless and weak, but thinking with terrible purpose. He could not touch the boy, not now, not in this state. But others could. And the prophecy had said, neither can live while the other survives. But Voldemort, whose entire existence was built on defeating death through any means necessary, saw another interpretation, a more elegant one. Neither can live while the other survives as a separate entity. We must become one. Not through murder, but through union. The boy was already a vessel for his soul. With proper training, proper conditioning, Harry Potter could become more than an enemy. He could become the perfect weapon. The heir Voldemort had never wanted, but the prophecy demanded he create. All it would take was claiming him before Dumbledore did. The claiming Lucius Malfoy arrived at Godric's Hollow, 17 minutes after Voldemort's fall. He'd felt the dark mark burn, then fade to a dull ache, a sensation no Death Eater had experienced before. Something catastrophic had happened. Lucius, ever the political survivor, needed to know what. The cottage was destroyed. The front door hung off its hinges. Inside, Lucius found James Potter's body in the entrance hall and Lily Potter's body in the nursery upstairs. And in the crib, very much alive, was Harry Potter. Lucius stared at the child. The Dark Lord had come here to kill this boy. The boy had survived, which meant a presence filled the room, cold, terrible, formless. Lucius dropped to his knees immediately. My lord. The wraith could not speak, but Lucius felt the command burn through his dark mark. A message of terrible clarity. Take the boy. Protect him. Raise him as mine. Tell no one. My lord. Dumbledore will search. Malfoy Manor, you as secret keeper, now. Lucius understood. The Fidelius charm would hide the boy's location inside Lucius's mind, making Malfoy Manor invisible to everyone who didn't know the secret. No spell, no torture, no Veritaserum could extract the information without his consent. And if Dumbledore demands to know what happened to the child, the boy died with his parents. The Potter line ends tonight. Let them believe it. Lucius lifted Harry from the crib. The boy didn't cry. He simply stared at Lucius with those unsettlingly green eyes. There was a fresh scar on his forehead, shaped like a lightning bolt, still bleeding slightly. The scar, my lord, it will identify him. It marks him as mine. Now go, before Dumbledore arrives." Lucius disapparated with the child. Behind him, the wraith of Voldemort lingered for one moment more, looking at the spot where Lily Potter had died. She had been given a choice. Severus Snape had begged for her life, and Voldemort had agreed to spare her if she stepped aside. She had refused, had chosen death instead, and her sacrifice had triggered magic Voldemort didn't fully understand. Blood magic, ancient and powerful, that had somehow caused the curse to rebound. But the boy had her blood, and that protection, whatever it was, would fade. Magic always faded. What wouldn't fade was what Voldemort would build. A weapon, a heir, a child who would see the world as Voldemort saw it, power as the only truth, death as the only enemy, love as the ultimate weakness. The wraith departed, and in the cottage, Lily Potter's body grew cold while the world celebrated the Dark Lord's fall, never knowing he had merely transformed his war from conquest into something far more patient and far more terrible. Malfoy Manor. The first year, Narcissa Malfoy had given birth to her son Draco 7 weeks before Harry Potter was born. She was still nursing when her husband arrived home with another infant and told her what Lord Voldemort commanded. "You want me to raise 2 children simultaneously?" Narcissa's voice was ice. "Lucius, I have 1 son, 1 heir, and now you're asking me to—" "I'm not asking, Narcissa. The Dark Lord has given a command. We obey or we join the Longbottoms in St. Mungo's." Lucius set Harry on the sofa. The boy watched them with those terrible green eyes. "This child contains a piece of the Dark Lord's soul. He is sacred. We will protect him, raise him, train him, and when the Dark Lord returns to power, we will be rewarded beyond measure. And if he doesn't return, either way we win." Lucius's smile was cold. "The Fidelius is already cast. Malfoy Manor is unplottable. Dumbledore will search for months and find nothing. The wizarding world will believe Harry Potter died with his parents. We'll have a decade to shape him before he's ever exposed to the outside world." Narcissa looked at Harry, then at Draco, sleeping peacefully in his cradle. 2 boys, 7 weeks apart in age, one her son, one her master's weapon. She made her choice the way she made all choices, in favor of her child's survival. "Very well, but Lucius, if this puts Draco in danger, it won't. I'll make certain of it." Narcissa didn't believe him, but she took Harry anyway, because a Malfoy survived by obeying power. And right now, even diminished and formless, Voldemort was still the most dangerous wizard who had ever lived. Years 1 through 4. Twin Princes of Darkness. The first 4 years of Harry Potter's life passed in the gilded halls of Malfoy Manor, hidden behind layers of protective enchantments that made the location invisible to the entire wizarding world. Harry and Draco were raised as brothers. Not equals, never equals, but as twin princes of very different status. Draco was the Malfoy heir, taught from birth that his bloodline was sacred, and his family name commanded respect. Harry was something else, the Dark Heir, marked by the Dark Lord himself, containing a fragment of Voldemort's soul. The wraith visited irregularly, possessing small animals, snakes mostly, sometimes ravens, to observe the children's progress. It could not speak coherently in these forms, but it could project feelings, commands, corrections through the dark mark that burned perpetually on Lucius's forearm. Narcissa handled daily care for both boys. She fed them, bathed them, taught them manners and basic literacy. With Draco, she was warm, affectionate, constantly reinforcing his importance and worth. With Harry, she was correct, but distant, providing everything required, but nothing more. Harry learned early that he was different, that he was important, that he was feared. The house elves cowered when he entered rooms. Lucius addressed him with wary respect. And once per month, a snake would arrive, and Harry would feel something wake in his mind, something cold and purposeful that watched him through serpent eyes. At age 3, Harry spoke his first word in Parseltongue. He'd been playing with Draco in the manor gardens when a grass snake slithered across the path. Draco had jumped back, frightened. Harry had leaned forward, fascinated. "Hello," Harry hissed. The snake stopped, turned its head. "Speaker," it hissed back. "Young speaker, you have the gift of the Serpent Lord, the one who commands all serpents. You smell of his magic." Narcissa, watching from the terrace, went very pale. She'd known intellectually that Harry might inherit the Dark Lord's abilities. through the soul fragment. Seeing it manifest in a 3-year-old child was different. She sent word to Voldemort immediately via the dark mark. The next day, a massive black cobra arrived. It coiled in the manor's entrance hall, its hood spread, its eyes fixed on Harry. "You are mine," it hissed. But the voice wasn't the cobra's. It was Voldemort's, speaking through the animal. "You carry my mark, my soul, my power. Do you understand what you are, child?" Harry, 3 years old and utterly unafraid, stared back. "No. You are my heir, my weapon, my revenge upon those who thought they defeated me." The cobra swayed hypnotically. "Speak to me every day. Tell me what you learn. Tell me what you feel. I am always watching, Harry Potter. Through the bond we share, through the piece of me that lives in your scar." Harry touched his lightning bolt scar. It tingled when the cobra spoke. "Who are you?" "I am Lord Voldemort, the greatest wizard who has ever lived. And you are my gift to myself, my second chance." From that day forward, Harry's education began in earnest. Ages 4 to 7, the indoctrination. Lucius Malfoy was many things: a politician, a Death Eater, a survivor, but he was not a teacher. That task fell to others. Voldemort, still formless and weak in the Albanian forests, directed the curriculum through messages transmitted via the dark mark. The lessons were designed to shape Harry's worldview before he was old enough to question it. The first truth: power is all that matters. "Magic is power, Harry," Lucius said during one lesson. Harry was 5 years old, sitting in the manor library with a book of dark creatures open before him. Everything else, love, friendship, loyalty, morality, these are lies weak wizards tell themselves to feel better about being weak. There is no good and evil. There is only power, and those too weak to seek it. "What about family?" Harry asked, thinking of how Narcissa treated Draco differently from him. "Family is useful when it serves power. The moment it doesn't, it becomes a liability." Lucius smiled coldly. "Why do you think your parents died, Harry?" "Because they chose love over survival. They could have joined the Dark Lord, could have lived. Instead, they chose to fight, and they died like fools." Harry absorbed this. It made sense. His parents were dead. Voldemort was not. Therefore, Voldemort's way was superior. The great enemy, death itself. "There is nothing worse than death," Voldemort's voice hissed through a serpent when Harry was 6. "Dumbledore believes death is a natural end. He is wrong. Death is defeat. And I have conquered it." "How?" Harry asked in Parseltongue. He was fluent now, speaking it as naturally as English, through magic that splits the soul and anchors it to the physical world. "You are one such anchor, Harry. You carry a piece of me. As long as you live, I cannot truly die. Then that piece of me dies with you, which is why you must become strong. Strong enough that no wizard alive could kill you. Strong enough to help me reclaim my body. Strong enough to rule beside me when I return." Harry felt something stir in his chest at those words. Pride. Purpose. He was important. Not just a boy. A vessel for something greater. The discipline of the mind at age 7, Harry's occlumency training began. Lucius attempted to teach it first, but his legilimency was too crude. Harry's mind was naturally resistant. The Horcrux fragment provided a layer of protection, and Lucius couldn't break through without causing Harry pain that triggered the Dark Mark's alarm. Voldemort had to wait until he'd possessed a wizard in Albania, a traveling dark wizard named Gregorevich, to conduct the lessons properly. The possessed Gregorevich visited Malfoy Manor under cover of darkness. His eyes were red where they should have been brown. His voice, when he spoke, was Voldemort's. "Occlumency is the art of closing your mind against intrusion," Voldemort said, standing before 7-year-old Harry in the manor's cellar. "Legilimency is the art of navigating another's mind. I will teach you both, not as Severus Snape teaches, through assault and trauma, but properly, through discipline." "Why do I need to learn this?" Harry asked. "Because Dumbledore is a master legilimens. When you eventually face him, he will try to read your thoughts, your emotions, your intentions. If he succeeds, our entire plan fails." Voldemort's red eyes bored into Harry's green ones. "You must become a perfect blank to him, a surface of calm water that reveals nothing of the depths beneath." The training began with meditation. Harry learned to empty his mind, to create a state of calm that had no thoughts to read. Then Voldemort taught him to construct false surface thoughts, a layer of innocuous mental noise that a casual legilimens would read while the true thoughts remained hidden beneath. Legilimens, Voldemort said, and Harry felt the intrusion, a presence sliding into his mind like cold water. Harry's instinct was to resist, to push back, but Voldemort had taught him differently. Instead, Harry let the presence in, but directed it to the surface layer, a memory of playing chess with Draco, boring and meaningless. Voldemort withdrew. Better, but Dumbledore will not be satisfied with surface thoughts. He will push deeper. You must create layers, false memories underneath, and underneath those, the truth. It took 2 years of training before Harry could reliably deceive even Voldemort's legilimency. By age 9, Harry's occlumency was advanced enough that no wizard alive except Voldemort himself could penetrate his mental defenses. Heritage and destiny. You and I are alike, Harry, Voldemort said during one possession visit. Harry was 8. They stood in the manor library, surrounded by books on dark magic that Draco wasn't allowed to touch. Both half-bloods, both orphans, both Parselmouths, the only 2 since Salazar Slytherin himself to attend Hogwarts with a serpent gift. My mother was Muggle-born, Harry said. He'd been told this, along with the explanation that it made him inherently lesser. Doesn't that make me weak? Voldemort's smile was terrible. If it did, I would have killed you as a baby. Your mother's blood means nothing. Your father's blood means nothing. What matters is the magic in your veins and the power you choose to claim. I am the greatest wizard who ever lived, and my father was a Muggle. Blood purity is a tool for controlling the masses. You and I know better. This was a revelation. Harry had been taught to revere pure blood superiority. Now Voldemort was saying it was a lie. Then why do Death Eaters care about blood status? Mudbloods are inferior is easier to understand than I seek power for its own sake. The ideology is a weapon, Harry. Use it to command others. Never let it command you. Everything was manipulation, even the beliefs people killed for. The lie of love, this was the lesson Voldemort returned to most frequently. That love was weakness. That Lily Potter's sacrifice had been foolish. That attachment created vulnerability. Your mother could have lived, Voldemort said when Harry was 9. I gave her a choice. Step aside and let me kill you, or die protecting you. She chose death. Was that love, or was it stupidity? If she loved me, wouldn't she want to stay alive to raise me? Exactly. Her death left you an orphan. If she truly loved you, she would have chosen life, would have stepped aside, let you die quickly and painlessly, and lived to bear other children. Instead, she chose a meaningless gesture that accomplished nothing. But I survived. You survived because of magic neither of us understands. Not because of her choice. Voldemort's voice was cold. Remember this, Harry. Love makes people irrational, makes them choose death over life, weakness over strength. Never let emotion cloud your judgment. Feel nothing you cannot control. Harry nodded. He didn't understand love anyway. Narcissa didn't love him. She barely tolerated him. Lucius feared him. Draco competed with him. The only being who showed him anything resembling affection was Voldemort himself, and Voldemort constantly reminded him that affection was merely strategic investment in a useful tool. Harry learned the lesson well. Attachments were liabilities. Power was the only currency that mattered. And love was the weakness that had killed his parents. Ages 7 to 11, the dark arts. The practical curriculum began when Harry turned 7. The Malfoy Manor cellar became a training ground. House elves were occasionally brought in as practice targets for non-lethal curses. Animals, rats, cats, even a goat once served as targets for darker magic. Voldemort, possessing various wizards for brief periods, supervised personally. The unforgivable curses, the Cruciatus curse requires genuine desire to cause pain, Voldemort explained when Harry was 8. A rat cowered in a cage before them. Not anger, not righteous fury, pure sadism. You must want to hurt, and you must enjoy it. Show me. Harry pointed his practice wand. They couldn't give him a real one yet. The ministry tracked wand purchases. Crucio. Nothing happened. The rat continued cowering. You hesitated. You questioned whether hurting it was right. Voldemort's voice was patient but firm. There is no right, Harry. There is only effective and ineffective. The rat is a tool for your education. Its pain means nothing. Try again. Harry tried again, and again. By the 10th attempt he'd found the mental state required, a cold detachment where the rat's suffering was simply data, feedback confirming the spell's effectiveness. The rat screamed, Better, Voldemort said. Now hold it. Longer. Until the rat goes silent. Harry held the curse for 40 seconds. The rat collapsed, twitching, alive, but barely. Excellent. The Cruciatus is not just torture. It's a tool for extracting information, for breaking wills, for demonstrating power. Master it completely. By age 10, Harry could hold the Cruciatus curse for 3 minutes without mental strain. His victims, rats, cats, and on one memorable occasion a Death Eater who'd displeased Voldemort, collapsed into gibbering wrecks. The Imperious Curse came easier. It required control, not cruelty. Harry learned to slide into another's mind and puppet their actions with surgical precision. The Killing Curse, paradoxically, was hardest. It required not just magical power, but absolute conviction. When Harry was 11, days before his Hogwarts letter arrived, Voldemort brought him a prisoner, a muggle who'd stumbled too close to Malfoy Manor's wards. "Kill him," Voldemort commanded. Harry raised his wand. The muggle stared at him with terrified eyes. Harry felt nothing, not pity, not guilt, not pleasure, just cold assessment. This was a test. Pass, and Voldemort would be pleased. Fail, and Avada Kedavra. Green light filled the cellar. The muggle dropped dead. Voldemort smiled. Perfect. You felt no hesitation, no remorse. You are ready, Harry. Ready for the world to see what I've made you. The Horcrux bond deepens. What Voldemort never told Harry, what perhaps even Voldemort didn't fully understand, was how deeply the Horcrux connection affected them both. Canon documents the progression. Scar pains during Voldemort's strong emotions. Dream visions after his partial return. Full perspective sharing. Involuntary mental merging. The locket Horcrux had amplified negative emotions and could create vivid illusions. Harry's connection was far more profound. He'd carried the fragment since infancy. It had shaped his developing brain, his magical core, his very personality. By age 11, Harry sometimes couldn't tell which thoughts were his and which were Voldemort's. When he felt rage, was it his own or the fragment's? When he calculated how to manipulate people, was it learned behavior or the echo of Voldemort's predatory instincts? The visions were the worst. Starting around age 9, Harry began experiencing flashes of Voldemort's perspective, seeing through the Dark Lord's eyes as he possessed animals, feeling his frustration at being bodiless, sensing his plans for return. During one vision when Harry was 10, he saw through Voldemort's eyes as the Wraith killed a wizard in Albania, draining his magic to sustain itself for a few more months. Harry felt the pleasure of the kill, the satisfaction of power exercised, and when he woke, he wasn't horrified. He was envious that Voldemort could kill so easily, while Harry had to wait for permission. The fragment was integrating seamlessly because there was no love in Harry's environment to resist it. No warmth, no genuine affection, just power, control, and the constant reinforcement that emotions were tools, not guides. Dumbledore had noted in canon that Voldemort could not bear to reside in a body so full of love. Harry's body wasn't full of love. It was full of carefully cultivated emptiness, a void the Horcrux fragment filled eagerly. By age 11, Harry Potter was no longer just a boy carrying a piece of Voldemort's soul. He was becoming Voldemort's true heir. The Draco problem, Draco Malfoy's childhood, was defined by one terrible fact. He lived in the same house as his replacement. He was the Malfoy heir. His bloodline was ancient and pure. His father told him constantly that he was destined for greatness. But Harry was the Dark Heir. Harry spoke Parseltongue. Harry had private lessons with the Dark Lord himself. Harry was praised for accomplishments Draco could never match. The resentment was inevitable. "You're not really special," Draco told Harry once when they were 9, after Harry had successfully performed a wandless summoning charm. "You're just a tool. The Dark Lord doesn't love you. He's using you." "Of course he's using me," Harry replied calmly. "That's what power does. It uses what's useful and discards what isn't. The question is, am I more useful than you?" Because they both knew the truth. Narcissa saw the poison growing between the boys and tried to manage it. She cultivated an alliance between them, teaching Draco that Harry was an asset to be controlled, not a rival to be destroyed. "You cannot outpower him, Draco," she told her son privately. "Harry has abilities you will never possess, but you have something he lacks: legitimate social standing. When you both go to Hogwarts, you will be recognized as a Malfoy. Harry will be recognized as an orphan. Use that. Make him dependent on your family's reputation. Make yourself indispensable. Draco tried. On the surface, he became Harry's devoted follower, studying together, practicing dueling, presenting a united front. But underneath, Draco nursed a resentment that would, eventually, become a critical vulnerability. Because Draco Malfoy, raised on pride and pure-blood supremacy, could not accept being second best to a half-blood in his own home. And that resentment, that wounded pride, would one day make him the perfect target for those seeking to turn him against Harry. But that was years away. For now, the boys simply coexisted, two princes of darkness, preparing for the day they would enter Hogwarts and begin the true infiltration. July 31st, 1991. The letter. On Harry Potter's 11th birthday, an owl arrived at Malfoy Manor carrying a letter sealed with the Hogwarts crest. Lucius caught the owl before it could reach the owlery, killed it with a severing chime, and brought the letter to Voldemort immediately. The Dark Lord was possessing a wizard named Quirinus Quirrell, a nervous, stuttering professor of defense against the dark arts who Voldemort had encountered in Albania. The possession was stronger now, more complete. Voldemort could speak through Quirrell's mouth, though he kept his face hidden beneath a purple turban. "The Book of Admittance has registered his name," Voldemort said, reading the letter. His voice came from Quirrell's mouth but sounded nothing like the professor's usual stutter. "Dumbledore knows Harry Potter is alive. He'll have questions. We could claim Harry was raised by distant relatives," Lucius suggested. "Pure-bloods who valued privacy. No, Dumbledore will investigate any claimed guardians. He'll discover the deception." Voldemort set the letter down. "We'll tell a simpler lie. Harry was raised by Muggles, just as Dumbledore intended. But those Muggles died recently. A car accident, perhaps. And Harry has only just learned he's a wizard. He knows nothing of his heritage, his parents, or the prophecy. He's a blank slate. Dumbledore won't believe that. He doesn't need to believe it completely. He only needs to want to believe it. And Dumbledore's greatest weakness is hope." Voldemort smiled with Quirrell's mouth. "He hopes Harry will be like James and Lily. He hopes the boy who lived will be his champion. We will give him exactly what he hopes to see, a confused, eager child, grateful for guidance, ready to learn." "And the sorting?" Lucius asked. "The hat will detect the Horcrux. It will want to place Harry in Slytherin." Voldemort's red eyes gleamed. "We cannot allow that. A Slytherin placement triggers every alarm Dumbledore developed from watching Tom Riddle. Harry must be sorted into Gryffindor. The hat listens to student preference. Then, Harry will request Gryffindor. He will think of James and Lily Potter, brave Gryffindors who died fighting the Dark Lord. He will think of how much he wants to honor their memory. And the hat, sensing genuine emotion, will grant the request." Voldemort's voice dropped to a whisper. "This is the most important performance of Harry's life. He must convince Dumbledore he is redeemable, that he is, despite everything, still Lily Potter's son." Lucius hesitated. "My lord, can he do that? Harry has been raised to see emotions as tools. Can he convincingly fake warmth, friendship, hope?" "I don't know," Voldemort admitted. "That is the gamble. Either Harry is a good enough actor to infiltrate Gryffindor, befriend the right people, and earn Dumbledore's trust, or he fails, gets sorted into Slytherin, and we lose the element of surprise." "What if there was a third option?" Narcissa's voice came from the doorway. She'd been listening. "What if Harry doesn't have to fake everything?" Voldemort turned to face her. "Explain." "The Granger girl. Hermione, Muggle-born, brilliant, desperate for approval. Narcissa had done her research. If Harry befriends her genuinely, not as a calculated move, but because she's actually useful to him, the friendship becomes real enough to convince Dumbledore. You're suggesting we let Harry form actual attachments? Controlled attachments, strategic ones. The girl is Muggle-born. She poses no threat to pure-blood ideology. But her friendship gives Harry cover, makes him seem tolerant, open-minded. And if the friendship becomes real, if Harry actually starts to care about her, that's when the cracks begin." Voldemort was silent for a long moment. Then he smiled. "You're suggesting we use Dumbledore's greatest weapon against him, love. I'm suggesting we let Harry learn what love is, so he can choose to reject it." Narcissa's voice was cold. "A choice made with full knowledge is stronger than conditioning. If Harry understands love and still chooses power, he becomes unbreakable. Or he chooses love, and we lose him entirely. That's the risk. But you said it yourself, my lord. This is a gamble regardless." Narcissa met Voldemort's eyes. At least this way, if he falls, we'll know he was genuinely tested. Voldemort considered this. The idea had merit, and more than that, it had irony. Using the very weapon Dumbledore thought defeated him, love, as a tool to cement Harry's loyalty. Very well, Voldemort said. We'll allow genuine friendship, but only with carefully selected targets. The Granger girl, yes. Ronald Weasley, perhaps useful for Ministry intelligence, harmless in himself. No one who could genuinely threaten Harry's worldview, and Harry will be monitored constantly through the Horcrux connection. Any sign of true wavering, and we intervene. Narcissa bowed. As you command, my lord. Voldemort turned back to the Hogwarts letter. Send the acceptance. Harry Potter is going to Hogwarts, and when he arrives, the wizarding world will see exactly what they expect. A brave, friendly boy who survived the Dark Lord and wants to honor his parents' memory. What they won't see, Lucius added quietly, is that the boy they're celebrating is the Dark Lord's greatest weapon. Precisely. Voldemort's smile was terrible. The Trojan horse enters the gates, and Dumbledore, so desperate to believe in redemption, will open those gates himself. August 1991, Diagon Alley. Harry's first trip to Diagon Alley was carefully orchestrated. He went alone, no Malfoy escort, no obvious Death Eater supervision. Voldemort, possessing Quirrell, watched from a distance as Harry navigated the wizarding shopping district for the first time. The cover story was simple. Harry had been raised by muggles who recently died. He knew nothing about magic. He was confused, eager, grateful for any guidance. At Gringotts, the goblins confirmed that Vault 687 belonged to Harry Potter and contained the Potter family fortune. Harry filled a bag with gold, his face carefully neutral. Voldemort had taught him to show wonder, excitement, the reactions of a boy seeing wealth for the first time. Inside, Harry felt nothing. Gold was a tool, useful but not inherently valuable. At Madame Malkin's, Harry was fitted for robes alongside other first years. One boy with platinum blonde hair tried to strike up conversation. Hogwarts? The boy asked. Yes, Harry said. I'm Draco Malfoy. Draco's performance was perfect. Haughty, superior, testing. And you are Harry Potter. Draco's eyes widened in carefully calculated surprise. Really? I heard you were dead. I'm not, obviously. Draco studied him. My father says you defeated you-know-who as a baby. Is that true? I don't remember. I was 1 year old. Still, that's impressive. Draco extended his hand. We should be friends. Potter and Malfoy, our families have a long history. Harry shook his hand, maintaining the innocent act. What kind of history? The important kind. Draco's smile was sharp. See you at school, Potter. The performance had worked. To any observer, it looked like two pure-blood heirs meeting for the first time. No one suspected they'd been raised as brothers. At Ollivander's, the wand-maker's pale eyes fixed on Harry with unsettling intensity. I wondered when I'd be seeing you, Mr. Potter. Ollivander pulled boxes from shelves. Your mother's wand was willow, 10¼ inches, nice for charm work. Your father favored mahogany, 11 inches. Excellent for transfiguration. None felt right. Then Ollivander brought out a box covered in dust. Holly and phoenix feather, 11 inches. Nice and supple. The moment Harry touched it, warmth flooded through him. The wand felt like an extension of his arm, his magic, his very self. Red and gold sparks shot from the tip. Curious, Ollivander said softly. Very curious. The phoenix whose tail feather is in your wand gave one other feather. Just one other. It is very curious indeed that you should be destined for this wand when its brother gave you that scar. Voldemort's wand and mine are brothers? Twin cores. 13½ inches you, phoenix feather. The wand that performed terrible things, but great things nonetheless. Ollivander's eyes bored into Harry's. I think we must expect great things from you, Mr. Potter. After all, he who must not be named did great things. Terrible, yes, but great. The connection between him and Voldemort ran deeper than he'd known. Not just the Horcrux fragment, not just the training, but the wands themselves, linked by phoenix feather. Voldemort, watching through Quirrell's eyes from across the street, smiled. Twin wands for twin souls. The prophecy was unfolding perfectly. September 1st, 1991. The Hogwarts Express platform 9 3/4 was chaos. Families saying goodbye, trunks being loaded, owls hooting in cages. Harry stood alone with his trolley, looking exactly like what he was supposed to be. A boy with no family, no guidance, no idea what to expect. "Excuse me," a voice said. "Do you know how to get onto the platform?" Harry turned. A girl with bushy brown hair and very large front teeth stood there, looking nervous and excited simultaneously. "Through the barrier between platforms 9 and 10, Harry said. "You run straight at it." "That seems dangerous." "Magic usually does." The girl laughed. "I suppose that's true. I'm Hermione Granger." "Harry Potter." Her eyes widened. "Really? I've read all about you. You're in modern magical history and the rise and fall of the dark arts and—" She stopped. "Sorry, I'm being intense. I do that when I'm nervous." Harry studied her. This was the girl Narcissa had identified. Muggle-born, brilliant, desperate for validation. Perfect. "It's fine," Harry said, smiling. "I like intensity. Want to find a compartment together?" "I'd like that." They boarded the train together. In a compartment halfway down, they found a red-haired boy eating sandwiches. "Mind if we sit?" Harry asked. "Go ahead," the boy said. "I'm Ron Weasley." "Harry Potter." Ron's eyes went to Harry's scar. "Blimey. Are you really?" "Yes. But I don't remember defeating Voldemort, so please don't ask me about it." "You say his name? Why not? It's just a name." "Fear of a name increases fear of the thing itself." Hermione nodded approvingly. "That's very wise." They talked for the rest of the journey. Harry was careful, measured, giving just enough truth to seem genuine while hiding everything that mattered. Ron was easy, open, trusting, insecure about his family's poverty. Hermione was harder. She watched people carefully, noticed details, asked probing questions. But Harry had been trained by Voldemort himself in the art of deception. By the time they reached Hogsmeade Station, both Ron and Hermione thought of him as a friend. Neither suspected they were befriending the Dark Lord's heir. The castle appeared through the mist, massive towers reaching toward the stars, windows glowing with light, impossibly ancient and magical. Harry looked at it and thought, "This is where Father wants me. This is where the weapon infiltrates the enemy stronghold." Beside him, Hermione whispered, "It's beautiful." "Yes," Harry agreed. And for just a moment, just one moment, he wondered what it would be like to see the castle as she did, as a place of wonder instead of a battlefield. Then the moment passed, and Harry remembered what he was, what he'd been raised to be. The Dark Heir, Voldemort's weapon, the boy who would bring down Dumbledore's world from the inside. He followed the other first years toward the boats, toward the sorting, toward the moment that would determine whether the infiltration succeeded or failed. And behind his occlumency shields, where no one could see, Harry prepared for the performance of his life. The sorting ceremony. The Great Hall was exactly as Voldemort had described it. 4 long tables filled with students, thousands of floating candles, and an enchanted ceiling showing the night sky. At the front, a stool held a patched wizard's hat that opened its mouth and began to sing about courage, cunning, wisdom, and loyalty. Harry barely heard the words. His focus was on the staff table. Dumbledore sat in the center, silver beard, half-moon spectacles, eyes that seemed to twinkle with perpetual amusement. The man Voldemort considered his greatest enemy. The man Harry needed to deceive completely. Professor McGonagall called names alphabetically. Abbott, Hannah, went to Hufflepuff. Boot, Terry, to Ravenclaw. Granger, Hermione, took nearly 4 minutes. A hat stall, before the hat shouted, Gryffindor. She caught Harry's eye and smiled. Malfoy, Draco, swaggered to the stool. The hat barely touched his head before declaring, Slytherin. The Slytherin table erupted in applause. Draco walked over with a smirk, playing his role perfectly. Arrogant, pure-blood heir. Exactly what everyone expected. More names. Then, Potter, Harry. The whispers started immediately. Every head turned. Harry walked to the stool, very aware that Dumbledore's eyes were fixed on him, that the entire hall was watching the boy who lived, sorting. McGonagall placed the hat on his head, and it slipped down over his eyes. Well, 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 a small voice said in his ear. Harry Potter. I've been waiting for you since the day you were born. Harry's occlumency shields were already in place, layer upon layer of false thoughts and misdirection that even Voldemort struggled to penetrate. Hello, Harry thought carefully. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. You have occlumency training, quite advanced for an 11-year-old. The hat's presence probed deeper. And something else, a fragment of another soul, clinging to yours. A Horcrux. How fascinating. Harry had expected this. Voldemort had warned him the hat would detect the fragment. I don't know what you're talking about, Harry thought, projecting confusion. Don't you? Then let me look deeper. The hat pressed against his shields. Such darkness here. Such cold calculation. You've been trained in the dark arts, taught to see people as tools, emotions as weapons. This is Tom Riddle all over again. No, Harry thought desperately. I'm not. I want to be good. Like my parents. They were Gryffindors. I want to be like them. He pushed forward a carefully constructed memory, himself at age 10, looking at a photograph of James and Lily Potter. Voldemort had provided one for exactly this purpose. Feeling a longing he'd practiced faking. The memory showed Harry thinking, I want to make them proud. I want to be brave like they were. The hat paused. You manufactured this memory. I can taste the falseness of it. No, I mean, yes, I thought about it deliberately. Because I knew you'd look in my head and I wanted you to understand. Harry let panic creep into his thoughts. Please, I know I have darkness in me. I know I'm not normal. But I want to be better. I want Gryffindor. Please. This was the critical moment. The gamble Voldemort had made, that the hat would detect the deception but also detect the grain of genuine desire underneath. Because Harry did want Gryffindor, not for noble reasons, but because it was tactically superior. And that want was real. You're very clever, the hat said slowly. Clever enough to know that admitting you're manipulating me might be the most effective manipulation of all. I cannot tell if your desire for redemption is genuine or a very convincing lie. Does it matter? Harry thought. If I choose to try to be good, isn't that enough? Is it a choice if you're doing it for strategic reasons? Every choice is made for reasons. Nobody does anything without motivation. Harry's thought was honest now, drawing on Voldemort's teachings. The question isn't whether I have ulterior motives. The question is whether I'll actually try to be what Gryffindor demands. And I will. I'll try. The hat was silent for a long moment. You are the most complex student I've sorted in 50 years. You have Slytherin's cunning, Ravenclaw's intellect, and you're arguing for Gryffindor with remarkable courage. The only house I'm certain you don't belong in is Hufflepuff. Loyalty is not your strength. Gryffindor, Harry thought firmly. Please. Very well. I hope you mean what you say, Harry Potter. Because if you don't, if this is truly all performance, then I am sending the most dangerous student since Tom Riddle into the house that values trust above all else. And that betrayal will break hearts that don't deserve breaking. The hat's presence withdrew slightly, preparing to announce its decision. But I am a hat, not a judge. I sort based on potential and choice, not certainty. You want Gryffindor. You argue for it compellingly. I will grant your request, and pray I'm not making a terrible mistake. The hat's voice rang out across the hall. Gryffindor! We got Potter, the Weasley twins were chanting. Harry walked to the table, his heart pounding. He'd done it. The first test. Passed. He sat next to Hermione, who beamed at him. We're in the same house. We are, Harry said, smiling back. And beneath his shields, where no one could see, he thought, Phase 1 complete. The Trojan horse is inside the walls. At the staff table, Dumbledore was watching him with an unreadable expression. Not suspicious exactly, but not entirely trusting either. The game had begun. The first week, Dumbledore's tests. Harry's first week at Hogwarts consisted of classes, meals, and constant subtle testing from Albus Dumbledore. The headmaster didn't summon Harry to his office, didn't interrogate him directly. Instead, he appeared at strategic moments, in corridors between classes, at the Gryffindor table during meals, in the library while Harry studied and engaged in casual conversation. Settling in well, Harry? Dumbledore asked on the second day, appearing beside Harry at breakfast. Yes, sir. Hogwarts is incredible. I'm glad you think so. Tell me, where were you raised? I attempted to place you with your mother's sister, but I was told you never arrived. Harry had prepared for this. I was with her for a while, but she died, car accident, when I was 7. After that, I bounced between foster homes, Muggle social services. Nobody told me about magic until my letter arrived. This was the agreed-upon lie, Vague enough to be hard to verify, tragic enough to discourage deep investigation, and carefully constructed to explain why Harry had no wizarding knowledge. Dumbledore's eyes, piercing blue behind half-moon spectacles, studied Harry carefully. That must have been very difficult, growing up without knowledge of your heritage, your parents' sacrifice. I didn't know they'd sacrificed anything. I thought they died in a car crash. Harry looked down at his plate. Learning the truth was complicated. Your mother's love saved you that night, Harry. That magic, ancient, powerful magic, protected you from Voldemort. Do you understand what that means? That love is stronger than dark magic? In a manner of speaking, your mother chose death rather than let Voldemort harm you. That choice created a protection that lives in your very blood. Dumbledore paused. Tell me, Harry, do you remember anything about that night? This was a test. Dumbledore wanted to know if Harry had memories that contradicted the official story. Memories of Voldemort arriving, of Lily dying, of the curse rebounding. No, Harry lied smoothly. I was too young. I don't remember my parents at all. Ah, that is a pity. Dumbledore's eyes held a trace of sadness, though whether it was genuine or theatrical, Harry couldn't tell. Well, if you ever wish to talk about them, my door is always open. I knew both James and Lily well. Your father was quite the troublemaker in his day. Reminded me a bit of you, actually. I'm not a troublemaker, sir. But you have your father's eyes. Well, your mother's eyes, technically. And a certain spark of mischief I recognize. Dumbledore stood. Enjoy your breakfast, Harry. And remember, if you ever need guidance, you need only ask. He walked away, leaving Harry with the distinct impression that the headmaster knew more than he was saying. That evening, Harry reported the conversation to Voldemort through their Horcrux connection. He'd learned to deliberately open the mental channel, a sending of thoughts and emotions that flowed directly to wherever Voldemort was. He suspects, Harry sent. He's testing me. Voldemort's response came through the scar, a cold presence in Harry's mind. Of course he suspects. Dumbledore is not a fool, but suspicion is not proof. Continue the performance. Befriend the Granger girl and the Weasley boy. Excel in classes, but not too much. Appear talented, but not trained. And above all, seem eager for Dumbledore's approval. He wants to be your mentor. Let him think he's succeeding. What about Snape? Harry asked. He'd noticed the potions master watching him during their first class with an expression of pure loathing. Severus Snape loved your mother, Voldemort sent. Seeing Lily's eyes in the face of a child I've raised, will destroy him. Use that. Make him think you're suffering. Make him want to save you. His guilt over Lily's death will make him vulnerable. Harry absorbed this. Everything was manipulation. Everyone was a tool. Yes, Father, Harry sent back. The connection closed, leaving Harry alone with his thoughts. Alone and wondering, for just a moment, what it would be like to not have every interaction calculated, every friendship weaponized, every smile measured for strategic advantage. Then he pushed the thought away. Sentiment was weakness. Voldemort had taught him that. Befriending the weapon, Hermione Granger. Hermione Granger was the brightest witch of her age, and the loneliest. She'd arrived at Hogwarts desperate to prove herself, to show that a Muggle-born could excel in this magical world. Her intensity, her constant need to answer questions, her tendency to correct others, these were defense mechanisms, ways of demonstrating value when you feared you had none. Harry recognized this immediately because Voldemort had taught him to identify insecurity and exploit it. But something unexpected happened. Harry actually enjoyed Hermione's company. She was brilliant in a way that challenged him. When they studied together in the library, she asked questions he hadn't considered, made connections he'd missed, pushed him to think more deeply. Voldemort had trained Harry in dark arts and manipulation, but Hermione taught him the theoretical foundations of magic itself. The why behind the how. You're really good at defense against the dark arts, Hermione observed during their second week, reviewing Harry's essay on werewolves. This is almost Newt-level analysis. Where did you learn this? Harry had prepared for this question. Books, mostly. I didn't have much else to do in foster care. Reading was free entertainment. But this isn't just reading. You understand combat applications, tactical thinking. That's not in standard textbooks. She was too observant. Harry would need to be more careful. I like thinking strategically, Harry said. Which was true. And I've always been interested in defense. Probably because of, Voldemort. Hermione flinched at the name but nodded. That makes sense. Using his name is brave, by the way. Most people are too scared. You taught me that on the train. Actually, Dumbledore said it originally. I just repeated it. And Harry felt something strange, a warmth in his chest that wasn't calculation, wasn't strategy, something almost genuine. He reported this to Voldemort that night. The Granger girl is useful. I think I can trust her. You can never truly trust anyone, Voldemort corrected. But you can value them. If she's useful, cultivate the relationship. Just remember, she's Muggle-born. The wizarding world will always see her as lesser, no matter how brilliant she is. Use that resentment when the time comes. But Harry found himself reluctant to see Hermione as just a tool. She was funny when she relaxed, passionate about learning, fiercely loyal to the few people she considered friends, and she made Harry feel something he'd never experienced at Malfoy Manor: acceptance, not fear, not strategic alliance, just friendship. It was dangerous. Voldemort would be furious if he knew Harry was developing genuine attachment, so Harry buried the feeling, locked it away behind occlumency shields, and told himself it was all still performance. Even as he stopped being entirely sure that was true, befriending the fool, Ronald Weasley. Ron Weasley was easier than Hermione, and more dangerous. He was easy because he wore his emotions openly, his insecurity about being poor, his resentment of his older brother's achievements, his desperate desire to be special. These were weaknesses Harry could manipulate effortlessly. But Ron was dangerous because his friendship was completely genuine. He liked Harry for Harry, not for status or fame or advantage. He offered loyalty without calculation, trust without reservation. And that genuine affection was corrosive to everything Voldemort had taught Harry. "You're good at chess," Ron said after Harry beat him in their 5th game. They were in the Gryffindor common room, homework abandoned in favor of wizards' chess. Like, really good. "Who taught you?" "I taught myself," Harry lied. Draco had been his chess opponent for years, with Lucius occasionally supervising and teaching strategy. "I had a lot of time to practice." "Well, you're better than my brothers," and Bill was supposed to be some kind of chess genius. Ron reset the board. "Want to go again?" They played until curfew. Harry won 4 out of 6 games, but Ron didn't seem to mind losing. He just enjoyed playing. That was foreign to Harry. At Malfoy Manor, every game had stakes. Every loss was a mark of weakness. But Ron treated chess as fun, as something done purely for enjoyment, with no deeper purpose. "You're my best friend, you know," Ron said one evening, completely out of nowhere. They were walking back from dinner, Hermione having stayed in the library. "I know we've only known each other a month, but you're the first person who treats me like I matter. Not like one of 6 Weasley boys. Just like Ron." Voldemort had never taught him how to respond to genuine affection. "You're my best friend too," Harry said finally, and realized, with something like horror, that it was true. Ron Weasley, poor, insecure, strategically useless Ron Weasley, had somehow become the first person Harry actually cared about beyond their utility. This was a problem. Attachment created vulnerability. Voldemort had been explicit about this, but Harry found himself unable to maintain the cold detachment Voldemort demanded. When Ron laughed at one of Harry's jokes, Harry felt pleased. When Ron defended Harry from a Slytherin's taunt, Harry felt grateful. When Ron shared his last chocolate frog because Harry had missed dessert, Harry felt something. Something warm and uncomfortable and entirely inappropriate for a dark heir. He felt friendship. Halloween. The troll incident happened exactly as Voldemort had predicted it would, because Voldemort himself orchestrated it. Professor Quirrell, Voldemort's current host, released the troll into the dungeons as a diversion. While the school panicked, Quirrell attempted to bypass the protections guarding the Philosopher's Stone, a legendary artifact that could grant immortality, hidden somewhere in Hogwarts. But the diversion created an unintended complication. Hermione Granger, crying in a bathroom after Ron had carelessly called her insufferable, didn't hear the warning about the troll. Harry realized this during the evacuation. "Where's Hermione?" Ron went pale. "The bathroom. She's still in the bathroom." The logical choice, the choice Voldemort would demand, was to let the troll kill her. One less complication. One less potential weakness in Harry's armor. But Harry didn't make the logical choice. "Come on," he said, grabbing Ron's arm. "We have to warn her." They ran toward the girls' bathroom, following the stench of rotting garbage, found Hermione cornered by a 12-foot mountain troll. its club raised to crush her. Harry's training took over immediately. Assess the threat. Troll, thick hide, resistant to most spells, low intelligence, vulnerable to coordination. Advantages: surprise, magical knowledge, Ron's chess-trained strategic thinking. Ron, distract it. Aim for the club, Harry shouted. Wingardium Leviosa, Ron's wand jabbed forward. The club jerked upward out of the troll's grip, hovered, then crashed down on the creature's skull. The troll swayed, stunned. Harry didn't hesitate. Locomotor mortis, the leglocker curse Voldemort had taught him, but which first years weren't supposed to know, struck the troll's knees. Its legs locked together. It toppled like a felled tree, hitting the floor with a thunderous crash that shook the entire bathroom. Silence. Then Hermione scrambled to her feet, grabbed both of them, and burst into tears. You saved me. You could have died. You shouldn't have come for me. Of course we came for you, Ron said, looking bewildered. You're our friend. Harry stood very still, processing what had just happened. He'd made a choice, a real choice, not a calculated tactical decision. He'd risked himself for Hermione because the thought of her dying had been unacceptable. That night, reporting to Voldemort through the Horcrux connection, Harry omitted certain details. The troll was neutralized. Quirrell's diversion failed. Dumbledore increased security on the 3rd floor. Did the Granger girl die? Voldemort asked. Harry hesitated. A fraction of a second, barely noticeable, but the connection was intimate enough that Voldemort felt it. No, Harry sent. She survived. Did you ensure her survival? Another hesitation. It was strategically advantageous. Her death would have raised questions. Voldemort's presence in Harry's mind grew cold. You're lying to me. You saved her because you wanted to, because you've developed attachment. No, do not lie to me, Harry. I can feel your emotions through this connection. You care about the Muggle-born girl, and about the Weasley boy. Voldemort's mental voice was quiet, dangerous. This is precisely what I warned against. Attachment is vulnerability. Love is weakness. Have I taught you nothing? I haven't forgotten the lessons, Harry protested. I'm using them. The friendship is real because real friendship is more convincing than fake friendship. Dumbledore believes I'm redeemable because I have friends who care about me. The strategy is working. The strategy is consuming you. You're not pretending anymore, Harry. You're feeling. So what if I am? Harry's mental voice turned sharp. You said I needed to infiltrate Gryffindor convincingly. I'm doing that. If that means forming real attachments, then that's what it takes. Voldemort was silent for a long moment. Then, very well. Continue as you are. But remember, when the time comes to choose between them and me, you will choose me, because they are expendable, and you are not. Understood? The connection closed. Harry lay in his 4-poster bed in Gryffindor Tower, listening to Ron's snoring from the next bed over, and wondered if he'd just lied to Voldemort for the first time in his life, and wondered what the consequences of that lie would be. Winter, the Mirror of Erised. Harry discovered the Mirror of Erised on Christmas night while exploring the castle under his invisibility cloak. A Potter family heirloom, Dumbledore had returned to him anonymously. The mirror stood in an unused classroom, its golden frame ornate and ancient, an inscription carved across the top. Erist stre eru oit ube kafru oit on Wosi. Harry approached, looked into the mirror, and froze. The reflection showed Harry, but not alone. Standing behind him were two people he'd seen only in photographs, James and Lily Potter, his parents. His mother's hand rested on his shoulder. His father's face wore an expression of pride. But that wasn't what made Harry's breath catch, because standing beside his parents, also in the mirror, were Hermione and Ron. And behind them, oddly, was Dumbledore, and Hagrid, and the Weasley family, and even Neville Longbottom, who Harry barely knew. All of them were smiling at him, like he belonged with them, like he was loved. The word felt foreign, dangerous, wrong. Harry reached toward the mirror. His hand met cold glass. The figures didn't move. They weren't real. Back again. Dumbledore stood in the doorway, eating sherbet lemons, looking entirely unsurprised to find Harry there. I was just admiring the Mirror of Erised. Dumbledore moved closer. It shows us nothing more or less than the deepest, most desperate desire of our hearts. Tell me, what do you see? Admitting what he saw felt like exposing a vulnerability, but lying to Dumbledore while standing in front of a mirror that revealed truth seemed pointless. "My parents," Harry said quietly, "and my friends. All together, all happy." Dumbledore's expression was gentle, sad. "And do you understand what this means? That I want a family. People who love me." The words felt like confession, like betrayal. Voldemort had taught him that love was weakness. That family was a liability. That attachment was vulnerability. But the mirror didn't lie. And what Harry saw in that reflection, what his heart wanted more than power, more than conquest, more than Voldemort's approval, was love. "The mirror shows our heart's truest desire," Dumbledore said. "Not what we think we should want, not what we've been taught to want, what we want in the deepest part of ourselves." He paused. "You have been taught many things, Harry Potter, some of them true, some of them false, but your heart knows the difference." Harry's occlumency shields were crumbling. "What if my heart wants something I can't have? Then you have a choice to make. Pursue what your heart desires, or pursue what you've been taught to desire." Dumbledore's eyes, those piercing blue eyes, seemed to see through every defense Harry had constructed. "I cannot make that choice for you, Harry. But I can tell you this. I knew your mother. Lily Potter died to save you because she loved you more than her own life. That love lives in you still, in your blood, in your magic, in the choices you make. The question is whether you will honor that gift or reject it. What if I don't know how to honor it? Then you learn, with time, with patience, with the help of people who care about you." Dumbledore stood. "The mirror will be moved tomorrow. I ask you not to seek it again. It does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. You have friends, Harry, real friends who care about you. Don't lose them by chasing reflections." He left. Harry stared at the mirror for another hour, looking at the family he'd never have, the love he'd been taught to despise, the life Voldemort had stolen from him by claiming him as an infant. And for the first time since he could remember, Harry cried. Not the calculated tears he'd learned to produce for manipulation. Real tears. Tears for parents he'd never known, for a childhood he'd never had, for the love he'd been taught to see as weakness but which his heart, his traitorous, vulnerable heart, wanted desperately. When he finally returned to Gryffindor Tower, Ron was awake, waiting. "You all right, mate? You look—" "I'm fine," Harry lied. Ron studied him. Then, without a word, he pulled a chocolate frog from his trunk and handed it to Harry. "For whatever's bothering you," Ron said. "Chocolate helps." Harry took the chocolate and felt something in his chest crack. Not break, but crack. The armor Voldemort had built around his heart, fracturing just slightly. "Thanks," Harry whispered. "That's what friends are for," Ron said simply. That night, Harry didn't report the mirror encounter to Voldemort, didn't mention Dumbledore's words, or the vision of his parents, or the realization that what he wanted most in the world wasn't power or conquest, but love. It was the first secret Harry had ever kept from Voldemort. It wouldn't be the last. Snape's suspicion. Severus Snape had spent 10 years hating himself for Lily Potter's death. He'd given Voldemort the prophecy. He'd set in motion the chain of events that led to Lily's murder. And when Dumbledore had asked what he would do to atone, Snape had answered, anything. To ensuring Harry survived, grew up safe, never fell into darkness. And now, looking at Harry Potter across the potions classroom, Snape saw Lily's eyes in the face of a child Voldemort had clearly claimed. The signs were unmistakable to someone who'd served Voldemort for years. Harry's occlumency was too advanced, his knowledge of dark arts theory too sophisticated, his reaction to pain too controlled, and most damningly, his casual use of spells, that leglocker curse on the troll, that first years couldn't possibly know. Snape had reported his suspicions to Dumbledore immediately. "Harry Potter has been trained," Snape said in Dumbledore's office, "extensively, in occlumency, in dark arts, in combat magic. This is not a boy who grew up in Muggle foster care. I am aware of your concerns, Severus. Are you?" Snape's voice was sharp. "Because the boy is a danger to this entire school. He's Voldemort's weapon, Albus. I can see it in him. I've watched him manipulate students, maintain perfect shields against legilimency, demonstrate knowledge he shouldn't possess, and you're letting him wander freely through the castle. What would you have me do? Imprison him? Expel him? He is an 11-year-old child, Severus. He is Voldemort's heir." Snape slammed his hand on Dumbledore's desk. I know the signs, Albus. I was raised in darkness myself. I recognize the training, the conditioning, He stopped. Lily died to save him, and Voldemort has corrupted her son into a weapon. We cannot let this stand. Dumbledore was quiet for a long moment. Then, I agree that Harry has been exposed to darkness. That much is clear. But I have also observed him, Severus, and I see something you might be missing. Conflict. Dumbledore's eyes held something like hope. Harry maintains perfect occlumency shields. Yes. But I am rather skilled at reading people even without legilimency. And what I see is a child at war with himself. He performs friendship as strategy. But the friendships are becoming real. He was taught to see love as weakness, but he saved Miss Granger from the troll, despite tactical advantage in letting her die. He seeks power, but what he saw in the mirror of Erised was not dominion, but family. The mirror shows heart's deepest desire, and Harry Potter's heart, despite everything Voldemort has done to poison it, desires love. Dumbledore stood. So yes, I am watching him carefully, but I am also giving him the chance to choose, because if we treat him as an enemy, we guarantee he becomes one. If we treat him as a student who can be saved, we give him a reason to want salvation. That's a gamble with every student in this school, as the stakes. It is, but it's a gamble I'm willing to take, because Lily Potter died believing in the power of love, and I will not abandon her son to darkness without a fight, even if that fight is for his own soul. Snape wanted to argue, but he thought of Lily's eyes, looking at him from Harry's face. Thought of her sacrifice. Thought of the boy she died to protect. If he shows signs of active threat, then we act, but until then we give him what Voldemort never could: genuine affection, unconditional acceptance, and the choice to be better than his raising. Dumbledore's voice was firm. Trust me, Severus. I have not forgotten what's at stake. Snape left the office, unconvinced, but over the following months he watched Harry carefully. Watched him laugh with Weasley, watched him study with Granger, watched him struggle with the very emotions Voldemort had tried to eradicate. And Snape began to wonder if Dumbledore might be right. If perhaps buried beneath the training and the conditioning and the darkness, there was still a boy who could be saved. A boy who had his mother's eyes and perhaps, just perhaps, his mother's heart. Quirrell's failure. The Philosopher's Stone plot concluded in June, exactly as Voldemort had planned, except for one critical variable. Quirrell, possessed by Voldemort, had spent the year attempting to steal the stone. The final protections required someone who wanted to find the stone but not use it, an impossible condition designed to defeat desire itself. Voldemort's plan was elegant. Harry would retrieve the stone using his innocent desire to protect it from the bad professor, then hand it over to Quirrell. The wizarding world would never suspect their hero had been complicit. But when the moment came, when Harry stood before the mirror of Erised with Quirrell demanding the stone, Harry hesitated. "Give it to me, Potter," Quirrell said. His voice was his own, but his master's will commanded it. Look in the mirror, want to protect the stone, retrieve it. Harry looked, saw his reflection reach into its pocket, pull out a blood-red stone, wink and replace it. Felt weight appear in his real pocket. He had the stone, exactly as planned. "Well?" Quirrell demanded. Harry's hand closed around the stone. All he had to do was hand it over, follow Voldemort's orders, complete the mission. But then he thought of Hermione, of Ron, of the vision in the mirror, his parents, his friends, all the people who would suffer if Voldemort returned to full power with immortality guaranteed. "No," Harry said. Quirrell's face contorted. "What did you say?" "I said no. You can't have it." Harry's voice was shaking but firm. "This stone keeps you alive, keeps him alive, and I'm tired of keeping him alive." Quirrell lunged, grabbed Harry's arm, and screamed. His hand was burning where it touched Harry's skin, blistering, smoking. The protection Lily Potter had left in Harry's very blood, protection Voldemort had dismissed as irrelevant, was activated by Quirrell's hostile intent. "What is this?" Quirrell shrieked. Harry understood suddenly. Lily's love, the magic Voldemort had never comprehended. It was protecting him from physical contact with Voldemort's agent. "My mother," Harry gasped. "She died to save me. And you can't touch someone protected by that kind of love." The professor's skin began to crack and crumble. And then, Voldemort's wraith form erupted from Quirrell's body. a dark shape that screamed with rage and fled through the chamber wall, abandoning his host to collapse, dead. Harry fell to his knees, still clutching the stone. Dumbledore arrived moments later, alerted by the magical disturbance. "Harry," Dumbledore said gently, "you did well." "I betrayed him." Harry's voice was hollow. "I was supposed to give him the stone. He's been in my head since I was a baby. He raised me, trained me, made me what I am. And you chose differently. You chose love over power, your mother over your master." Dumbledore knelt beside Harry. "That choice, Harry, that is who you truly are, not what Voldemort made you. Who you choose to be." Harry looked at the stone in his hand. "What happens to it? Nicholas Flamel has agreed to destroy it. He and his wife have lived long enough. They are ready for the next great adventure." Dumbledore's voice was soft. "There are things worse than death, Harry. Living without love is one of them. Living as Voldemort's weapon is another. You rejected both tonight. He'll be furious. He'll know I betrayed him. Yes, he will, and that makes you vulnerable in ways you haven't been before." Dumbledore helped Harry stand. "But you won't face this alone. You have friends, teachers, me. We will protect you from Voldemort's wrath. I give you my word." That night in the hospital wing recovering from magical exhaustion, Harry felt the Horcrux connection open. Felt Voldemort's presence in his mind, colder and more terrible than it had ever been. "You betrayed me," Voldemort's voice hissed through the connection. "After everything I gave you, everything I taught you, you chose them over me." "Yes," Harry sent back. "I did." "Why?" "Because—" Harry struggled to find words. "Because they love me. And you never did. You saw me as a weapon. They see me as a person." Voldemort's laugh was cold. "Love. You chose love. How perfectly predictable. And how perfectly foolish. Maybe. But it's my choice. Not yours. You think you've won something, Harry. You think you've escaped me. But you carry a piece of my soul in your scar. We are bound forever. And one day soon, you will understand that love is weakness. And you will come crawling back, begging to serve me again. Never. We shall see." The connection closed, and Harry was left alone with the knowledge that he'd just declared war on the most dangerous wizard who'd ever lived. The man who'd raised him, shaped him, made him. The man he'd just chosen to defy. Summer 1992. The Reckoning. Harry returned to Malfoy Manor for the summer, with Dumbledore's permission and Lucius Malfoy's cold greeting. "The Dark Lord is most displeased with you," Lucius said the moment they were alone in the manor's entrance hall. Narcissa stood nearby, her expression carefully neutral. Draco watched from the stairs, eyes wide. "I know," Harry said. "Do you understand what you've done? You were to be his heir, his weapon. His return to power depended on your loyalty. And you betrayed him for, what? Friendship with blood traitors and mudbloods? Don't call Hermione that. I'll call her whatever I please. She is Muggle-born filth, and you were raised to understand that." "I was raised to see people as tools," Harry interrupted. "And I've learned something this year, Lucius. Tools don't laugh at your jokes. Tools don't share their last chocolate frog when you're sad. Tools don't risk their lives to save you from a mountain troll." His voice was cold. "Hermione and Ron are my friends, and friendship is worth more than Voldemort's approval ever was." But before he could respond, a presence filled the room. Cold, terrible, formless. Voldemort had arrived. The Wraith couldn't maintain physical form yet, but Harry felt its pressure through the Horcrux connection, felt Voldemort's fury like ice water in his veins. "Harry!" The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "We need to talk." The Dark Lord's offer. The conversation happened in Harry's mind, through the Horcrux link. Voldemort couldn't manifest physically without a body, but the mental connection was intimate enough for communication. "You betrayed me," Voldemort said. His presence in Harry's thoughts was overwhelming, not painful, but suffocating. "After everything I invested in you, after raising you when I could have simply killed you as an infant, you didn't raise me," Harry shot back. "The Malfoys did. You just used me, like a tool, like a Horcrux." There was a pause. Then, "You know what you are. I figured it out. The connection, the visions, the soul fragment in my scar. You didn't claim me because of prophecy. You claimed me because killing me would destroy a piece of your soul. Clever boy, Yes, you are my Horcrux, one of 7, and that makes you precious beyond measure, Harry. You are my immortality made flesh. I'm a person, not a vessel. You are both, and that is what makes you powerful. Voldemort's mental voice shifted, became almost gentle. Harry, I am not angry about the stone. Not truly. You made a choice in the moment. An emotional choice, driven by attachment to people who don't truly matter. But you can still correct that mistake. I won't. Listen to me. I can give you everything you saw in that mirror. Family, belonging, power. You want to be loved? I can teach you to command love, to make people adore you, worship you, die for you. You want friends? I can give you followers so devoted they'll never betray you. You want your parents back? I cannot restore the dead, but I can give you power so absolute that loss becomes meaningless. That's not love. That's control. What is love but a form of control? Voldemort's voice was patient, persuasive. Your mother loved you, and where did that get her? Dead. Your friends love you, but they would abandon you the moment they learned what you truly are. A child raised by Death Eaters, a Horcrux, a vessel for the Dark Lord's soul. Do you think the Granger girl would still befriend you if she knew? Do you think Weasley would share his chocolate frogs? Harry hesitated. Because Voldemort was right. If Hermione and Ron knew the truth, knew what he'd been raised to be, knew the darkness inside him, would they still accept him? You see? Voldemort pressed. Love is conditional. Power is not. I am offering you certainty, Harry. A place at my side when I return. You would be my heir in truth. Not a weapon, but a partner. We could rule together. Father and son. Master and apprentice. Neither living while the other merely survives, but both living as one unified force. You killed my parents. I gave you a choice to die with them or live with me. You lived. That choice has already been made. I didn't make that choice. I was a baby. Then make it now. Consciously. With full knowledge, Voldemort's presence intensified. Reject the false love of the Muggles and blood traitors. Embrace what you were meant to be. Return to me, Harry. Help me reclaim my body. And I swear to you, I will never see you as merely a tool again. You will be my son in all but blood. My heir. My equal. For a moment, one terrible moment, Harry was tempted. Because he was alone at Malfoy Manor. Because Hermione and Ron were far away. Because the mirror had shown him a family he'd never have. And Voldemort was offering an alternative. Twisted. Dark. Wrong. But real. Then Harry remembered Hermione's laugh. Ron's loyalty. Dumbledore's gentle wisdom. The way his heart had cracked when Ron gave him chocolate. For whatever's bothering you. No, Harry said. I've made my choice. I'm not your heir. I'm not your weapon. I'm just Harry, and I'd rather be nobody loved by real friends than somebody feared by followers. The presence in his mind went cold. Then you have chosen death. Because I will return, Harry, with or without your help. And when I do, I will offer you one final chance to kneel. If you refuse again, I will kill you. Horcrux or not, I will rip that piece of my soul from your corpse and place it somewhere safer. And your precious friends will die screaming. We'll see. Yes, Voldemort hissed. We shall. The presence withdrew. Harry was left shaking in his bedroom at Malfoy Manor, knowing he'd just made an enemy of the most dangerous wizard alive. The man who'd raised him. The man whose soul he carried. The man he would have to destroy to be free. Year 2. The Chamber of Secrets. Harry's second year began with a warning. The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the heir, beware. The message, written in blood on a corridor wall, terrified the entire school. But Harry knew immediately what it meant, because Voldemort had taught him about the chamber years ago. Salazar Slytherin built a secret chamber in Hogwarts, Voldemort had explained, when Harry was 8. Inside dwells a basilisk, a serpent king that kills with its gaze. Only the heir of Slytherin can command it. Only a Parselmouth can open the chamber itself. Harry was a Parselmouth, and Voldemort had certainly mentioned the chamber for a reason. The attacks began in November. Mrs. Norris, Filch's cat, was found petrified. Then Colin Creevey. Then Justin Finch-Fletchley and nearly headless Nick. All petrified, not dead. They'd seen the basilisk's reflection in water, or through a ghost, not its direct gaze. It's got to be a Slytherin releasing the monster, Ron said during one discussion in the Gryffindor common room. Maybe Malfoy. Harry knew it wasn't Draco. Draco didn't have Parseltongue. But someone was commanding the basilisk. Someone who could speak to serpents. The answer came when Harry found the diary. It was lying in a flooded bathroom, a small black book with T.M. Riddle embossed on the cover. The moment Harry touched it, he felt a presence, familiar and terrible. Another Horcrux. Harry opened the diary and wrote, "Hello." Words appeared in response. "Hello, Harry Potter. My name is Tom Riddle." The teenage memory of Voldemort, preserved in the diary, was charming and manipulative. It showed Harry visions of Hagrid's supposed crime, opening the chamber 50 years ago, releasing the monster. It positioned itself as an ally, a friend, someone who understood what Harry was going through. But Harry recognized the manipulation because he'd been trained in it. This was Voldemort at 16, already brilliant, already dangerous, already practicing the art of deception. "I know what you are," Harry wrote. "You're a Horcrux, a piece of Voldemort's soul." The diary went still. Then, "Clever. Yes, I am a memory preserved in this book, but not just a memory, a fragment of the Dark Lord at his most powerful. Before he was defeated by a baby, before he became the pathetic wraith he is now. What do you want? The same thing the living Voldemort wants, to return to power, to reclaim my body, to rule." Words appeared faster now, but I have an advantage the living version lacks. I'm not burdened by his mistakes. I'm not weakened by the Horcrux creation. I am Tom Riddle, as he should have been. Young, powerful, whole. You're trying to possess someone, Harry realized, using the diary to drain their life force. Very good. Yes, I've been possessing a student, writing through her hand, commanding the basilisk through her voice, and when she's drained completely, I will have a body again. I will be real. Who? Someone weak. Someone lonely. Someone desperate for affection. The words felt like mockery. You would know her. Ginny Weasley, Ronald's little sister. She's been pouring her heart into this diary for months, and I've been drinking it all in. Harry's blood went cold. Ginny Weasley, Ron's sister, 11 years old and being possessed by a teenage Voldemort. Let her go, Harry wrote. Why would I do that? Because if you don't, I'll destroy you. The diary's response was immediate. You can't destroy me without killing her. I'm intertwined with her life force now. Destroy the diary and you kill the girl. So you have a choice, Harry Potter. Let me finish the possession and save yourself, or try to save her and lose us both. Harry stared at the diary. This was Voldemort's test. Would Harry choose pragmatism, letting Ginny die to stop the Horcrux, or sentiment, trying to save her and potentially losing everything? Voldemort had trained him to choose power over attachment, to see people as expendable. But Harry remembered the Mirror of Eriside, remembered choosing Ron and Hermione over the Philosopher's Stone, remembered that he'd decided to be someone different than what Voldemort had made him. I choose her, Harry wrote, and I'll find a way to save both of us. The diary went dark, and Harry began to plan. The chamber confrontation. Harry found the chamber's entrance in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom, a sink marked with a tiny serpent. Open, he hissed in Parseltongue. The sink sank into the floor, revealing a pipe leading down into darkness. Harry descended alone, leaving Hermione and Ron behind, because he knew this confrontation required him to face Voldemort's memory directly. The chamber was vast, a long corridor lined with serpent statues, lit by eerie green flames. At the far end, Ginny Weasley lay motionless on the floor, and standing over her was Tom Riddle, now solid and real, drained from Ginny's life force. Harry Potter, Riddle said. His voice was young but already cold. How wonderful to finally meet you in person. Let her go, Riddle. I don't think so. She's almost drained completely. In another few minutes, I'll be fully corporeal and she'll be dead. And then, Riddle smiled, then I'll have what the pathetic wraith version of me failed to achieve. A body, youth, power. And unlike him, I won't waste time on sentiment or prophecies. I'll simply kill you and move on. You're a memory, a fragment. You think you're better than the real Voldemort, but you're just a teenage version of his arrogance. Perhaps, but I'm here, and he's not, which makes me the dominant fragment. Riddle began to pace. You were raised by him, weren't you? I can see it in the way you stand, the way you assess threats. You have his training. I have his training, not his values. Liar, you're a Horcrux. You carry his soul. You are, in essence, me, or what I became. We're more alike than you want to admit. We're nothing alike. No, Riddle's smile was cruel. Then prove it. Save the girl, if you can. From the mouth of Salazar Slytherin's statue emerged a basilisk. 60 feet of serpent, fangs dripping venom, eyes closed to avoid killing Harry instantly. Kill the boy, Riddle commanded in Parseltongue. Harry's mind raced. The basilisk was deadly. Its gaze killed. Its venom was among the most lethal substances in existence. Its hide was near impenetrable. He was 12 years old with a year and a half of Hogwarts education. But he'd also been trained by Voldemort. And Voldemort had taught him to think tactically, to use every advantage, to never fight fair. Stop, Harry hissed in Parseltongue. The basilisk hesitated, torn between two Parselmouth's commands. Riddle laughed. You think you can command my basilisk? I am the heir of Slytherin. So am I, Harry hissed. I carry Slytherin's gift. I carry Voldemort's soul. I am as much his heir as you are. The basilisk swayed, confused. Harry pressed his advantage. The boy commanding you is a memory. I am real, alive, the true vessel of the Dark Lord's power. Obey me. Kill him. Riddle shrieked in Parseltongue. The basilisk struck. Harry rolled aside, barely avoiding fangs the size of daggers. He needed a weapon, something that could pierce basilisk hide. Fawkes the Phoenix burst through a grate in the ceiling, carrying the sorting hat in its talons. The bird dropped the hat at Harry's feet and flew at the basilisk, clawing at its eyes with razor-sharp talons. Harry grabbed the hat. Something heavy fell into it. He reached inside and pulled out a sword, silver ruby-encrusted, with Godric Gryffindor engraved on the blade. The Sword of Gryffindor. The hat provided it to worthy Gryffindors in need. Harry had been sorted into Gryffindor. Despite his training, despite his darkness, the hat, and by extension, Gryffindor himself, considered him worthy. That realization hit harder than any spell. The basilisk lunged. Harry drove the sword upward through its open mouth, into its brain. The creature convulsed, its fang breaking off and piercing Harry's arm before it collapsed. Dead. Pain exploded through Harry's arm. Basilisk venom, lethal within minutes. Riddle was laughing. You killed the basilisk but doomed yourself. The venom will kill you before you can save the girl. You failed, Harry Potter. You chose sentiment over survival. And it's cost you everything. Harry's vision was blurring. He could feel the venom spreading, burning through his veins. But Fawkes landed beside him, tears streaming from its eyes onto the wound. Phoenix tears. The antidote to basilisk venom. The pain receded. Harry stood, grabbed the basilisk fang, and walked toward the diary lying next to Ginny. No. Riddle realized what Harry intended. You'll kill her, the link between us. Fawkes healed me. Maybe his tears can heal her too. Harry raised the fang. Or maybe you're lying about the link. Either way, you're done, Riddle. Ink spurted like blood. Riddle screamed, a terrible, inhuman sound, and his form began to dissipate, torn apart by the destruction of his Horcrux vessel. You're just like him. Riddle's voice was fading. Just as ruthless, just as willing to sacrifice. No, Harry said quietly. I'm willing to risk everything to save someone. That's the difference between us. The diary fell apart, destroyed, and Ginny gasped, color returning to her face as the possession broke. Harry? She whispered. What happened? You're safe now, Harry said. That's all that matters. Fawkes carried them both out of the chamber. Ginny still weak, Harry still processing what had just happened. He'd destroyed a Horcrux, a piece of Voldemort's soul. And in doing so, he'd proven something important. He could defy Voldemort, could destroy his immortality anchors, could choose to be more than what he'd been raised to be. The war for his soul had just begun. But this battle, at least, he'd won. Dumbledore's Gambit. Dumbledore's office was circular, filled with silver instruments that whirred and puffed smoke, portraits of previous headmasters watching from the walls. Harry sat across from the headmaster, the destroyed diary on the desk between them. You destroyed a Horcrux, Dumbledore said quietly. Do you understand what that means? I understand what Horcruxes are. Voldemort taught me. Vessels for soul fragments, created through murder, designed to anchor the soul to the physical world. Harry met Dumbledore's eyes. The diary was one. I'm another. Dumbledore went very still. You know. I've known since I was 10. Voldemort told me, thought it would make me feel special, connected. Instead, it just made me realize I'm a thing to him, not a person, a vessel. And yet you destroyed the diary despite knowing it was part of the same soul you carry within you, because saving her was the right thing to do. Because, Harry's voice dropped, because I'm tired of being what he made me. Dumbledore was silent for a long moment. Then, how many Horcruxes did Voldemort create? He told me 7 was the most powerful number. The diary was 1. I'm another. That leaves 5 more hidden somewhere. And if we destroy them all, Voldemort becomes mortal. Killable. Dumbledore leaned forward. Harry, I need to ask you something, and I need complete honesty. Whose side are you on? I don't know, Harry admitted. Voldemort raised me, trained me, shaped my entire worldview. I spent 11 years learning that power matters, that love is weakness, that attachment is vulnerability. And then I came here and learned. He struggled for words. I learned that he was wrong. About everything. But I can't just erase 11 years of conditioning. I still think tactically. I still see people's weaknesses before their strengths. I still have to consciously choose kindness over manipulation. Awareness of your conditioning is the first step to overcoming it. Is it? Because sometimes I don't know where the conditioning ends, and I begin. When I saved Hermione from the troll, was that genuine compassion or calculated strategy to maintain my cover? When I chose Gryffindor, was it because I wanted to be good, or because Slytherin was tactically disadvantageous? I don't trust my own motives anymore. Dumbledore stood and walked to the window, overlooking the grounds. May I tell you what I see when I look at you, Harry? If you want. I see a child who was raised in darkness but keeps choosing light. You saved Hermione, cover or not. You made that choice. You refused to give Voldemort the Philosopher's Stone despite years of training to obey him. You destroyed a Horcrux to save Ginny Weasley when letting her die would have been easier. These are not the actions of someone irredeemable. They're also not the actions of someone good. They're the actions of someone conflicted. Precisely. And conflict means you have a choice. Voldemort wanted to make you a weapon. No choice, no conscience, no capacity for doubt. Instead, he created someone capable of questioning, of choosing, of defying. That is his greatest failure and your greatest strength. Harry looked at his hands. What if I can't kill him? He's my father. Not biologically, but in every way that matters. He raised me. And I, despite everything, despite the betrayal and the manipulation and the darkness, part of me still wants his approval. That is natural. Abusive parents often retain psychological power over their children long after the abuse ends. Acknowledging that power is not weakness, Harry. It's honesty. So what do? You keep choosing. Every day, every moment, you choose who you want to be. Not who Voldemort made you. Not who I want you to be. Who you choose to be. Dumbledore returned to his desk. And I will help you. We will find the remaining Horcruxes. We will prepare for Voldemort's return. And when the time comes to face him, you will make your final choice. But until then, you are a student, a child, my responsibility to protect. I'm a weapon. You're a boy who has been treated as a weapon. There is a difference. Dumbledore's voice was gentle. And I will spend every day reminding you of that difference, Harry Potter. Whether you believe it or not. Year 3. The Sirius problem. Sirius Black escaped from Azkaban in the summer before Harry's 3rd year, and the wizarding world panicked. Harry knew who Sirius was. Voldemort had told him. James Potter's best friend who'd betrayed the Potters to Voldemort, who'd murdered Peter Pettigrew and 12 muggles who'd been sent to Azkaban for life. Except Voldemort's version included additional details. Sirius Black was your godfather, Harry. James trusted him above all others. That trust was his downfall. Remember this lesson. Trust no one completely. Everyone has a price. Everyone can betray. But when Sirius actually appeared, cornering Harry in the shrieking shack during 3rd year, the story he told was different. I wasn't the secret keeper, Sirius gasped. He looked like a corpse, skeletal, filthy, desperate. Peter was. We switched at the last moment, because I thought I'd be the obvious target. I thought Peter would be safer. And then he betrayed them and framed me. I've spent 12 years in Azkaban for a crime I didn't commit. Liar, Harry said, wand raised. I loved James like a brother. I would have died for him. For Lily, for you. Sirius's eyes were wild but sincere. Harry, I'm your godfather. I was supposed to take care of you, and instead you were given to—" He stopped. "Where did you grow up? Dumbledore was supposed to place you with Lily's sister." Harry's occlumency shields went up immediately. "That's none of your business. It is my business. You're my godson. I have a right. You have no rights. You're an escaped convict. I escaped to protect you. Peter Pettigrew is alive. He's been hiding as Ron Weasley's rat. I saw him in a photograph in the Daily Prophet. He's at Hogwarts. He's near you. And if Voldemort returns, Peter will run straight to him." Remus Lupin, who'd arrived moments after Sirius revealed as a werewolf and explained the whole complicated history of the Marauders, confirmed Sirius's story. Peter was indeed Ron's rat scabbers. Peter had indeed been the secret keeper. Peter had betrayed the Potters. Sirius Black was innocent. Harry's world tilted. Voldemort had lied about something fundamental, about Harry's history, his family, his godfather. "You were supposed to raise me," Harry said slowly. "If you'd been secret keeper, if you hadn't switched with Peter, if you hadn't been arrested, I would have grown up with you." "Yes," Sirius said, "and I would have loved you, Harry. I would have told you about James and Lily every day. You would have known how much they loved you, how brave they were, how they died protecting you." Harry thought about the Mirror of Erised, about the family he'd seen, parents, friends, all the people who loved him. Sirius would have been part of that. Should have been. But instead, Harry had grown up at Malfoy Manor, raised by Death Eaters, trained by Voldemort, and Sirius was standing here, looking at Harry with James Potter's eyes, seeing the darkness in him, and recoiling slightly. "What did they do to you?" Sirius whispered. "Where did you really grow up?" Harry's occlumency cracked. Just for a moment, just long enough for Sirius to catch a glimpse through legilimency of Malfoy Manor, of Voldemort's wraith form, of Parseltongue lessons and dark arts training. Sirius went white. "Oh my God, Voldemort took you. He's had you this whole time." "I need to go," Harry said. "Harry, wait." But Harry was already running from Sirius, from the truth, from the life he should have had but would never have. By the time he reached Hogwarts, Peter Pettigrew had escaped, Sirius was recaptured, and Harry was left with the knowledge that Voldemort had stolen more than just his childhood. Voldemort had stolen the family that would have loved him. Year 4, the Triwizard Tournament. The Goblet of Fire spat out Harry's name despite him being underage, and Harry knew immediately this was Voldemort's doing. The plan was elegant. Force Harry into the tournament, ensure he reached the Triwizard Cup port key, transport him to the graveyard where Voldemort waited with Wormtail in a cauldron prepared for the resurrection ritual. But the plan had a critical flaw. The ritual required blood of the enemy, forcibly taken. In Voldemort's original timeline, Harry had been an unwilling victim, truly an enemy. But now, after 2 years of defying Voldemort, rejecting his teachings, choosing friendship over power, Harry was an enemy in truth rather than in designation, which meant the forcibly taken requirement would be satisfied, which meant Lily's protection would transfer to Voldemort's new body, which meant the blood tether that ultimately saved Harry in canon, allowing him to survive the killing curse in the Forbidden Forest, would exist in this timeline too. Harry realized this during the third task. He'd cooperated with Cedric Diggory, another tactical deviation from Voldemort's teachings about eliminating competition, and they'd reached the cup together. "Should we take it together?" Cedric asked. Harry looked at the cup, knew it was a port key, knew what waited on the other side. He could refuse, could let Cedric take it alone, could avoid the graveyard entirely. But Voldemort would simply try again and again until he succeeded. And meanwhile, Harry would always be running, always be afraid, always be the weapon Voldemort had tried to make him. Together, Harry said, "We take it together." And they were pulled through space to a graveyard where Tom Riddle Sr. was buried, where Wormtail waited with a grotesque, baby-like form cradled in his arms. "Kill the spare," Voldemort's high, cold voice commanded. "Avada Kedavra," Wormtail said. Green light hit Cedric Diggory. He fell dead instantly. Harry was bound to Tom Riddle Sr.'s gravestone, wandless and helpless, as Wormtail began the ritual. Bone of the father, unknowingly given. A bone rose from the grave, dropped into the cauldron. Flesh of the servant, willingly sacrificed. Wormtail cut off his own hand, screaming, and it fell into the potion. Blood of the enemy, forcibly taken. Wormtail cut Harry's arm. Blood dripped into the cauldron. And Harry felt something transfer, some essential protection his mother had left, flowing into the potion, into the thing in the cauldron that was becoming Voldemort's new body. The potion turned white-hot. A form rose from it, tall, skeletal, serpent-like, red eyes with slitted pupils, no nose, just flat nostrils, skin like pale wax. Lord Voldemort had returned. He flexed his new hands, examining them with satisfaction. Then he turned to Harry. "The boy who refuses to die," Voldemort said. His voice was different now, more substantial, more real. "Bound to my father's grave. How poetic." "Let me go," Harry said. "Oh, I will, in a moment. But first," Voldemort raised his wand. "I want you to understand what you've lost by defying me." He cast the Cruciatus curse. Pain exploded through every nerve in Harry's body. He screamed despite himself. Training only went so far against unforgivable curses. 3 years, Voldemort hissed, holding the curse. 3 years you've rejected me. Chosen blood traitors and mudbloods over the one who raised you. Chosen sentiment over power. And for what? They're not here, Harry. Your precious friends. They can't save you. He released the curse. Harry gasped for breath, his body shaking. "But I am merciful," Voldemort continued. "I will give you one final chance. Meal. Swear your loyalty. Help me destroy Dumbledore. Conquer the Ministry. Subjugate the Muggle world. Be the heir I raised you to be. And I will forgive your betrayal." Harry looked at Voldemort, at the face that had haunted his childhood, sometimes in serpent form, sometimes in possessed wizard form, sometimes just as a cold presence in his mind. "No," Harry said. Voldemort's expression didn't change. "Then you have chosen death." He raised his wand. Avada Kedavra. But Harry's wand, in Wormtail's pocket, flew to his hand with a wordless summoning charm, wandless magic taught by Voldemort himself, now used against him. The ropes binding Harry vanished under a nonverbal severing charm. Harry rolled behind a gravestone. Expelliarmus, Voldemort's killing curse and Harry's disarming spell met mid-air. The twin cores, brother wands, phoenix feathers from Fawkes, locked together in priori incantatem. Golden light connected the wands. Ghostly figures began emerging from Voldemort's wand. His most recent victims. Cedric Diggory appeared first, then Frank Bryce, then Bertha Jorkins, and then James Potter. Lily Potter, Harry's parents. "Harry," Lily's ghost whispered, "we're so proud of you. You have to hold on." James added, "When the connection breaks, run. Grab Cedric and the cup. Get back to Hogwarts." Harry's voice cracked. I'm sorry I was raised by him. I'm sorry I'm not." "You're exactly who you should be," Lily said fiercely. "You chose love, Harry, over everything Voldemort taught you. That's all we ever wanted. Now run. Live. Win." The connection broke. Harry summoned Cedric's body with another wandless spell, grabbed the cup portkey, and vanished. He reappeared at Hogwarts with Cedric's corpse and his own arm bleeding from Wormtail's knife. The crowd's cheers turned to screams. Dumbledore ran forward. "He's back," Harry gasped. "Voldemort's back." And the Second Wizarding War began. The final year. The prophecy fulfilled. The war that followed Voldemort's return was brutal. Death Eaters attacked diagonally. The Ministry fell to Voldemort's control within 6 months through imperious curses and political manipulation. Dumbledore formed the Order of the Phoenix. Harry, despite being 15, was a member. And Severus Snape became the most important person in the war. Snape had maintained his position as Voldemort's spy, feeding information to Dumbledore while pretending loyalty to the Dark Lord. But his true mission was singular. Save Lily Potter's son from the darkness Voldemort had planted in him. "You need to see the truth," Snape told Harry during one meeting in Dumbledore's office. "About your mother, about what she was, about why her sacrifice matters." He pulled memories from his temple, silver strands that floated into Dumbledore's pensieve. "Watch." Harry entered the memories and saw Lily Evans through Severus Snape's eyes. Saw her kindness, her brilliance, her fierce defense of Snape when James Potter bullied him. Saw Snape's love for her, desperate, unrequited, all-consuming. Saw the moment Snape brought Voldemort the prophecy and the moment he realized what he'd done. Saw Snape begging Voldemort to spare Lily. Saw Voldemort agree and break that promise. Saw Snape's breakdown when Dumbledore told him Lily was dead. His vow to protect her son at any cost. Always, Snape had said when Dumbledore asked how long he would protect Harry, and his Patronus, a silver doe, identical to Lily's, had appeared as proof. Harry emerged from the pensieve with tears streaming down his face. "She loved you," Snape said quietly. "More than life, more than magic, more than anything. And that love lives in you still, in your blood, in your choices. In every moment you've defied Voldemort. You are Lily Potter's son, Harry, not Tom Riddle's heir. Never forget that." "I won't," Harry whispered. The final battle came in Harry's 7th year. Dumbledore and Harry had spent 2 years hunting Horcruxes. The ring, destroyed by Dumbledore. The locket, destroyed by Hermione. The diadem, destroyed by Fiendfire. Nagini remained, but killing her required the Sword of Gryffindor, which Neville Longbottom had pulled from the Sorting Hat in the final battle, which left only Harry himself. "The prophecy says neither can live while the other survives," Dumbledore had explained. "You carry a piece of Voldemort's soul. As long as you live, he cannot truly die. You must let him kill you, Harry. It's the only way." "And then I die for real," Harry said. "Because the blood tether, I'm an enemy now, not an ally. The ritual transferred Lily's protection to Voldemort. When he kills me, I'm tethered to life through him. Yes, you'll go to a liminal space, a place between life and death, and you'll have a choice: return and finish this, or move on to whatever comes next." Harry thought about this, about the mirror of Eriside showing him his parents, about Lily and James appearing during Priori Incantatem and telling him they were proud, about Ron and Hermione and Neville and every person who'd shown him that love wasn't weakness. "I'll come back," Harry said. "I have to." The Battle of Hogwarts raged through the night. Death Eaters against students and teachers and the Order, Voldemort commanded from the Forbidden Forest, and when dawn approached, he sent his ultimatum: "Give me Harry Potter, or I will kill every person in this castle." Found Voldemort waiting with Nagini and his inner circle. "The boy who lived comes to die," Voldemort said. "How noble, how pointless." "It's not pointless," Harry said. "You told me once that love was weakness. You were wrong. Love is the only thing strong enough to survive death. My mother proved that, and I'm about to prove it again." Sentimental fool. Avada Kedavra. King's Cross. Harry woke in a space that looked like King's Cross Station, but brighter and emptier. Dumbledore sat on a bench, very much alive. Beside him, glowing with ethereal light, were James and Lily Potter. "Am I dead?" Harry asked. "Not quite," Dumbledore said. "You're in a liminal space. The Horcrux fragment Voldemort left in you has been destroyed by his killing curse. You are free of him now, Harry. Free to choose? Choose what? To stay here? Move on to whatever comes next? Reunite with your parents? Rest after 17 years of war? Or return? Finish what you started? Destroy Voldemort forever?" Harry looked at James and Lily. "If I stay, we'll be together," Lily said gently. "The family you always wanted. No more war. No more pain. Just peace." "But if you go back," James added, "you can save everyone still fighting. Your friends. Your world. The life you chose." Harry thought about Ron and Hermione, about Neville and Ginny and Sirius, who'd been cleared of all charges and fought in the battle, about every person who'd shown him love when they had no reason to. "I have to go back," Harry said. "They need me. And I need them." Lily smiled. "That's my son, always choosing others." "You'll carry us with you," James said. "Not as ghosts, not as memories, but in your choices, in your heart. That's what family means." Harry hugged them both, his parents, finally after 17 years. Then he turned to Dumbledore. "How do I finish this? The Elder Wand's allegiance lies with you. You disarmed Draco Malfoy at Malfoy Manor, and Draco had disarmed me on the Astronomy Tower. Voldemort stole the wand from my tomb, but it won't work properly for him. Use that. And remember, he cannot kill what he does not understand. Love, Harry. That's your weapon." Voldemort thought him dead. Narcissa Malfoy, checking for a pulse, whispered, "Is Draco alive?" "Yes," Harry whispered back. "Then stay down. Play dead. I'll tell him you're gone." And Voldemort, triumphant, marched Harry's corpse to Hogwarts to break their spirits. But when Neville Longbottom refused to surrender, When he pulled the sword of Gryffindor from the sorting hat and beheaded Nagini, the final Horcrux died. Voldemort became mortal, and Harry rose. I'm not dead, Tom, and I'm not your weapon. I never was. The final duel was brief. Voldemort cast the killing curse. Harry cast Expelliarmus. The Elder Wand, recognizing its true master, refused to kill Harry and rebounded the curse on Voldemort. Tom Riddle fell, and this time, with all Horcruxes destroyed, he died permanently. The war was over. Epilogue. 19 years later. Platform 9 3/4. September 1st, 2017. Harry Potter stood with his wife Ginny and their 3 children, watching them board the Hogwarts Express. Will I be in Slytherin? His youngest son Albus Severus asked nervously. Harry knelt down. Albus, you were named for 2 headmasters of Hogwarts. One of them was in Slytherin, and he was probably the bravest man I ever knew. But if you really want to be in Gryffindor, the Sorting Hat will take that into account. It did for me. Like Voldemort. You're not. And do you want to know how I know? Harry smiled. Because Voldemort raised me, trained me, tried to make me into a weapon. And I chose differently. I chose love. I chose friends. I chose to be better than my raising. And you? You have something I never had. Parents who love you. A family who supports you. You'll never have to make the choices I made, Albus. You're already free. I love you, Dad. I love you too. Now go. Your mother and I will be here when you get back. The children boarded. The train departed, and Harry stood with Ginny, watching it disappear into the distance. Do you ever regret it? Ginny asked quietly. Choosing to come back? You could have stayed with James and Lily. Never, Harry said. Because this you, our children, our friends, the world we built after the war, this is what I fought for. This is what love creates. And Voldemort will never understand that. He looked at his scar, faded now, barely visible after 19 years of peace. The boy who'd been raised to destroy the world had chosen to save it instead. And that choice made all the difference. Let us know what you'd like to see next. The end.